Hey guys, I'm Nick and welcome back to the channel. Or if you haven't subscribed, please don't forget to do so. So today I'm talking to you about Star Trek Strange New Worlds and a bit of speculation as to whether we might see some legacy characters show up in this new Star Trek series, specifically T'Pol and Dr. Phlox. We know producers of the current various Star Trek series aren't shy when it comes to bringing back legacy characters to Star Trek. So today I'm talking to you about these two legacy characters from Star Trek Enterprise and ask the question, are we likely to see them in Star Trek Strange New Worlds? So for starters, one thing that seems clear with the producers of the various Star Trek series at the moment, whether that be Discovery or Lower Decks or Picard, is that they aren't shy when it comes to bringing back legacy characters. Obviously, in Star Trek Picard, we not only saw Data back, we saw Hugh Borg back, Commander Riker back, Counselor Troy back, and of course Seven of Nine in the first season of Star Trek Picard. And in the last season of Star Trek Discovery, obviously, we saw Spock, Pike, and Number One. These are characters that have already been established in various Star Trek series before, and our producers have brought these characters back into our current shows at the great pleasure of the fandom, which everybody's been very happy about. I think all of the choices that they've made with bringing back classic characters so far has worked really, really well. So with recent confirmation that Star Trek Strange New Worlds, not only have they finished writing, breaking, and working through, confirming all of the stories for the first 10 episodes, which I think the first season is going to be 10 episodes on Strange New Worlds from what I hear. The new show starts shooting this year. Recent information would seem to imply that perhaps around maybe September or October is when the Strange New Worlds production seems to be looking to kick off, which then hopefully means we're going to be getting this show in 2021. Hopefully, well, maybe not the first half of 2021 if they're only just starting to shoot at the end of this year, but hopefully by certainly mid to late 2021 is when we'd be likely to see this show on our TV screens. I think the format, which is self-contained episodes in this series, would seem to imply that it is absolutely made to do this, because you can write an episode which just contains a guest appearance by one character. You can write another story which just contains a guest appearance by another character. Star Trek Strange New Worlds is set about 105 years after Enterprise. It seems pretty unlikely that any of our human cast members could possibly return in Strange New Worlds, because say Archer was around 40 or thereabouts at the time of season 4 of Enterprise. He's going to be like well over 150 years old by the time of Star Trek Strange New Worlds with Pike in command of the Enterprise. So any human character is going to be well over 125 years old if they were actually even still alive, which is pretty unlikely, but I just don't see it being in any way viable that any of our human cast members from Enterprise are likely to show up in Strange New Worlds. Now, there are two characters that were in Star Trek Enterprise that are of alien origin and that do have longer lifespans than humans. The first one being T'Pol, a Vulcan. Vulcans have about a 200-year lifespan, born in the very late 21st century, which at the time of Star Trek Strange New Worlds would put her at about 170 years old. This would be about the equivalent of an 80-year-old human. So it is possible that T'Pol could show up. She would be very old, she'd be elderly, white-haired, but let's face it, there have been plenty of Star Trek episodes with, say, Vulcans like Sarek, who appeared in multiple episodes of Next Generation, and he was very, very old as a Vulcan by the time he showed up in that series. Now, what about Phlox? Well, in multiple episodes of Star Trek Enterprise, it was established that Denobulans have a very long lifespan. Their lifespan is about 300 years. It would seem that Phlox was, in fact, born around a very similar time to T'Pol. Around the time of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Phlox would also be in his late 100s, probably about 170, give or take. Now, this would place him probably if you were to put it in human terms, about the age of someone in their late 50s. So John Billingsley could in fact reprise his role as Dr. Phlox at the age he is now. As a denobulan, it would seem like he's only kind of essentially a little bit over halfway through his lifespan as a 300-year-old. So the next part of my what if is to do with the actors, Jolene Blalock and John Billingsley. What have they been up to recently? And what have they been acting in? Well, have we seen them in any shows? Have we seen them in any movies? What are they doing in the acting department these days? So if we have a bit of a look at IMDb, we'll see that Jolene Blalock hasn't been incredibly busy as an actress in the last few years since Enterprise finished. She's done a few bits and pieces. She's done a couple of TV movies. She's done guest appearances in a couple of TV series, CSI Miami. She was in a Starship Troopers movie. She was in a couple of short films and a couple of telemovies and so forth. So even though she hasn't been crazily busy over the course of the last 15 years or so, there's certainly enough to imply that she still has her toe dipped into the acting pool, and I'm sure, you know, if she was asked, could potentially reprise her role as T'Pol. Now, what about Phlox? What about John Billingsley? What's he been up to? So looking at IMDb, it seems like John Billingsley has been very busy as an actor since Enterprise finished. Been in episodes of Cold Case, he's been in Nip Tuck, CSI New York, Prison Break, he was in Superman Returns, he was in NCIS, Grey's Anatomy, 24, The Mentalist, True Blood, The Good Wife, even appeared in The Orville as a doctor alongside Robert Picardo, of all people. So there was if you guys watched The Orville as well, there was a great scene in the last season of The Orville which actually had Robert Picardo and John Billingsley in it as well. It was kind of cool to see both of the Voyager Doctor and the Enterprise Doctor sharing the screen together, even if it was just in the Orville. He's been in tons of shows and movies. So it's clear that John Billingsley is still very, very active as an actor. And Phlox was such a good character in Enterprise. I think he was a very quirky doctor, and I think he would most definitely be a very welcome return to the Star Trek canvas if he was to reprise his role. So if we were to see T'Pol again, what role would she assume? Well, as someone in their twilight years, as a Vulcan of 170-something, she's probably going to be in a position that's probably not that dissimilar to, say, to how Patrick Stewart was when he reprised his role as Jean-Luc Picard. She'd probably be maybe an admiral if she's still in Starfleet, retired to desk duties at Starfleet headquarters or something like that. Even if it was as an admiral, to show up as Admiral T'Pol to give Captain Pike his orders, you know, for a mission or something. Obviously, it would be better to have her involved in a bit more personal way than just to pop up on a screen and say, here's your mission. But I think it wouldn't be a stretch of the imagination to see her pop up in a role maybe not that dissimilar to the role that Admiral Cornwell, say, had on the first 2 seasons of Discovery. A high-ranking Starfleet admiral that had a pretty hands-on involvement in the activities of the Discovery. Cornwell appeared in quite a few episodes of season 1 and 2 of Discovery, so I don't see any reason why not you couldn't make T'Pol an admiral, have her, you know, a bit older, obviously, get some aging makeup there, get some white hair, and you could easily have her as a, you know, a somewhat more elderly Vulcan admiral pop up to be involved in some mission on the Enterprise under Captain Pike. And there are plenty of interesting episodes of Enterprise where the Doctor had a pretty hands-on approach to curing something for a new alien species, or perhaps they made contact with a first contact situation on the Enterprise under Captain Archer. That would be a reason to bring Dr. Phlox back. You could have any of the races that Archer and crew came into contact with from the 4 seasons of Enterprise, and maybe there was a very specialist situation which would require the expertise of Dr. Phlox, who had previously dealt with this race before. The sky's the limit, really. I think you could invent any particular reason. Him as a fairly wise, he almost be 200 years old. As a denobulan, he'd been an incredibly experienced physician. Could even be, heading up Starfleet Medical. Bring him in as a specialist for some mission that had a medical theme. Very easy to do. So what do you guys think? Do you think we're likely to see Phlox or T'Pol show up in Star Trek Strange New Worlds? Who would you rather see? Would you rather see T'Pol? Would you rather see Phlox? Leave a comment in the comment section. Don't forget to like and subscribe, to share this video, and check out my merchandise and Patreon page, links in the description below. And I'll catch you guys next time for my next review.